Welcome to the podcast, Let's Talk More Do. I'm your host, Lemar Griffin. Today on the podcast, I got my man, Justin Simmons. No introduction needed, but I'll let you just give the people a little bit about your background. We some Florida boys, so, you know, I'll give y'all that.
Yep, I'm from the East. Oh, well, you're on the East Coast too, huh? Yeah, you were on the East Coast. So, yeah, what's up, everybody? Justin Simmons. I was born in Manassas Park, Virginia, but I claim South Florida. That's where I was raised. That's where my family was raised. And I'm from Stuart, Florida, so a little bit north of West Palm. Two younger brothers. My dad is black, my mom is white. Big reason why I'm into my faith. That's kind of what all they had when they were growing up. And yeah, man, currently safety for the Broncos going in year 8. Still can't believe that. Yeah, what a blessing. And man, thank you for having me though. I appreciate it.
We've been trying to do this for, I think it was before
COVID.
I mean, it was a minute. And the thing was, I would look to people that ever want to talk to people like Justin. I wasn't bugging him. He was like, hey, whenever I got time. So I just kept nudging Justin, man, whenever you got time, because, you know, you be busy, but you don't want to ever like bother, like you don't want to be over, like, so I'm so glad that we found the time, man. I think you and Warren Sapp, I think I asked Warren Sapp to talk to him for like 4 years, and then best interview I ever got. So you and Warren Sapp, my, you know, longevity, man, you just got to be persistent.
I love it. I love it. That's my fault too, though. You know, like we said, I said like it was like during COVID. I know it was a little bit before COVID, then COVID hit. That was excuse number 1. And then we had our second, and there are other complications. Then we had our third, and that was just like, oh my goodness.
Bro, that daddy life, man. You see I got the hat. All right, so let's start the podcast off with, tell me about who, you know, any inspirations you got, any influences in your life right now that you have.
Yeah, man. So I'll say this, the biggest influence in my life for the longest time was my dad. And he just recently passed away earlier this year in 2023. And man, he was always one of the biggest inspirations in my life. And I can't say enough good things about him. He is why I'm here. He helped me become the man I am today, the husband, the brother, the son. Just have nothing but great things to say about him. That's my A1 day one, and I love him so much, and I miss him every day. And but also in the same breath, you know, some of my biggest influences that are still here right now it's just like my family. So my wife and my 3 kids, man, my 2 oldest girls and my youngest son. Every day, like, and you know, you get it. Every day that I see them and, you know, I come back home, whether it was a good day of work, a bad day of work, a good game or a bad game, yeah, I come home and they don't care about any of that. Dad first, you know, Justin before the NFL first to them, to my wife. And it's just it's the best feeling in the world. I can be completely authentically myself around them. And they're my biggest influences. Like, I want to do well for them. I always tell people I'm not in the business to prove people wrong. I'm in the business of proving people right. And those are the people closest to me that I want to prove right.
I love that, man. I was just going to go into being a girl dad, man, being a father. What does that mean for you? Like, especially, you know, for me, when I left the NFL, one of the biggest reasons I left was I said it to Shelby, like, I'm not you guys. So I had the choice of, man, I'm flying, I'm doing a lot of stuff. My daughter's getting older. And it was like, you know, I'd been in the league for a little bit, and it's like, man, I don't want to, like, even now when I go to and I know it might be the same with you, when I go to the door, my daughter's like, are you going to the airport? And I'm like, I never wanted it to be like that. Because, you know, when you get good at your job, you have to fly. But when I left the NFL, it was strictly because, man, I can't keep traveling like this. And, you know, I want to be there for my daughter. And, of course, that's your job. You don't have a choice whether you can travel or not. Talk to me about how you balance that between being dad and being a husband.
Yeah, honestly, especially now as my daughter is getting older and older, and our family is growing and growing, that's a conversation I have with my wife, like, all the time. You know, like, of course I love the game, and I've been fortunate enough to have, you know, my wife and my kids support me and be there for me and help me. But at the same time, it's not always about me. And so my wife and I always have that conversation year in and year out. And I think it's like a year-to-year feel thing, and we're in a pretty good groove right now. But in the same breath, man, like, you know, I went on vacation with my wife, and we had just gotten back, and so it was like a 5-day vacation. I'm loving up on my kids, and my oldest obviously goes to sleep the latest, and we're in bed and we're talking about stories and we're snuggling, and She just looks at me while I'm reading the story, like eye to eye, gives me a big hug, and just like, Daddy, I love you and I miss you. And she tells me like, don't go back to work. And
that's the toughest.
And I was like,
that's the hardest.
And you know, but I can appreciate right now. I'm just appreciating the honesty, and I let her know like, hey, you know, Dad goes to work and Mom's able to stay home, and these are the things that happen because Dad gets to go to work, and kind of explain it to her a little bit, but also at the same time letting her know if you ever, and I know she's super young, but I tell her if you ever feel like I'm not around enough or I'm not supporting you enough, I want you to let me know. Yeah. I want you to let me know, because they're always going to be number one. That's
amazing, man. Let's jump into, I want to go back to your parents, because anytime I got a chance to pick someone's brain, I mean, I'm still, my oldest is 4, 1, same thing with you. As a father, like, what is some advice you would give other fathers, especially specifically the girl dads, you know what I'm saying? What is like 3 things you would give to like a new father, like just trying to figure it out, because nobody got the rule. I mean, I read books, I talked to other guys, and it's only so much you can do until you got to get in that situation. But what advice would you give like a new father that's trying to struggle to find, like, you know, his way?
That's a great question. The number one thing I always tell like up and coming fathers is like, you will never be ready, in a good way though.
Yeah,
like whether you're 35 or you're, you know, 20, 21, like you know amount, you might have a little bit more knowledge when you might be a little bit more knowledgeable when you're 35 or whatever the case may be, but there's no handout for your child. So and the same thing, like I was reading books, I went to the classes, like I actually paid attention. I was,
Me too, especially the car seat class,
man,
bro.
I'm telling you.
Listen, I was nervous, especially, I mean, that car seat class, man.
I'm telling you, the car seat class, the you know, like the birthing phase, like how you can support. I think, you know, those things were important, right? How I can support my wife. Yeah. That was super important for me to learn. But in terms of being a father, like, you know, Lainey, my oldest, did not come with the handbook. Like the things that, and I think everybody's stepping into a culture now where it's, I don't know, like the gentle parenting culture and things. And for some kids that works. For some kids it doesn't. And I think the number one thing I like to say, it's really as an encouragement, is like you'll never be ready, and you'll figure it out. And I mean that it sounds like it's obviously an easy thing to say, harder thing to do. Yeah. But I'm telling you, like when they're there and you love them, you'll learn through your mistakes. And I think that's one of the biggest things. I'll say number 2 is be present. And
time, you can't put time is the most valuable thing we got. You can have all the money in the world, but the time, man.
And you can never get that back. And so there's so many great like podcasts and books that you can read. Like I think those parenting tips are huge, right? Like I think those are great when people are talking about what you can give to your child and how you can set them up for the best success, is just being present. I can remember like growing up, I was reminiscing on my dad. And I like the number one thing I could take away from him was like he was always present. He made it apparent that he was going to support me and my 2 younger brothers no matter what. And number 3, and this is in my opinion just something that I'm learning now, especially with my 5-year-old, is like when you're wrong, or like I've never had girls before, so I'm learning. Like even I had 2 younger brothers. Even my cousins that are girls, like I rarely hung out with. So like I know nothing about girls or women in general. And so with my 2 girls, especially my 5-year-old, my oldest, like I have to realize that like my tone of voice at times and the way I hold conversations with my wife, with Taryn, and then I have to realize like in those moments there is still opportunity to, what's the word I'm looking for, like show grace, and then also receive mercy in a sense of like asking for forgiveness if I went a little too far. Yeah. You know, like I'm so used to disciplinary action from my parents, and not in a bad way, but I'm just used to like that. And so that's immediately what I turn to. And in some instances, it's not that serious. And so I think for me, point number 3 would just be like, man, it's okay to be wrong, but make sure you voice it and you let them know like, hey, Daddy messed up. I'm so sorry. I love you so much. I would never mean to hurt you or to make you cry, X, Y, and Z. And I think it's okay for your kids to see that, hey, Dad messes up too, and he needs to ask for forgiveness too.
I love that, man. So my 3 would be time, like we talked about. Like I feel like as a father, there's nothing, like I'm trying to build my life around, and you know, I'm mid-level successful. I'm trying to build my life around being a father first, then a husband, then a creative. And it's just like nothing else matters more than like being there in the time for my daughter. And number 2, something I've been doing is I don't take my cell phone in my daughter's rooms, especially someone like me who creates content, you know, on social media. And it's just like, as soon as I walk into a room, we made it, and I've been doing it for like 4 months now. We make it a thing where I just leave the phone right outside her room. So when I'm in her room, I'm fully present. I love that. And it's been such life-changing, because she'll call me out and say, hey, Dad, like you got your phone, and I'll throw it, like, you know, I got the case. I'll throw the iPhone out the room, like just giving her that time and being present. And then number 3, something that I mean, this is advice, especially for me, from my wife gave me this, is like the fire that your daughter and my daughter got, we can't put it out, because at some point they'll probably need it. Ooh. Me and Shelby was talking about that on the podcast, about how women gotta, even if they get their foot in the door, how hard they gotta work and things they gotta go through. So when my daughter's not talking back, but you know, standing up for herself, I can't make her feel small so I can feel big, because at some point she's gonna be in the boardroom with people where she needs to be, you know, where she needs to have that fire. So like I just never want to put out like her energy and her fire just because she's throwing a temper tantrum in Target, and those get embarrassing. But you gotta, like you said, all right, hey, you gotta stop yelling. Like, I'm not gonna yell. You just gotta figure out how to do it. Patience and accountability.
I love that, man. I love that so much. That makes me think of my oldest, and she asks questions 24/7. And it's crazy bringing it up, because my wife has to humble me for a second and say like, hey, this discipline's great, you know, because I always be like, Lainey, why are you asking me so many? I just answered, stop asking me questions. But in the same realm, like, I don't want her to grow up and to just like, quote unquote, follow the rules all the time. Like, I think questions are great. You should ask why. You should ask how long. You should ask X, Y, and Z, because, you know, you're framing an idea or a method in your head that might help you, might put you in the rooms, like you said, with your daughter, you're talking about with your daughter and things like that. So, man, I love that. I love those points, especially that last one. That was great.
Let's go to your wife. I want to say, a lot of the guys I don't get to, again, my relationship with Justin and some of the other guys is more so I get to see you in your foundation. I get to see you off the field. I get to see the work that you and your wife do. Some NFL wives don't get credit. That's not you. That's just everywhere, I think. There's just so much that goes on behind the scenes. Wives everywhere, not just NFL wives, just wives, mothers, sisters. Talk to me about your wife, how you guys met, and like what she's done to make you a better person. Because most wives push their husbands to be, like, if you're good, they can push you to be great. Like, they can get you over that hump.
Sure can. They sure can. For most men, like, if you feel like you're not being pushed by your wife, that can also be a deterrent, or could lower self, like all those things too. But my wife, man, she's been the absolute cornerstone in not only our house with our kids, but just for me in general. And like I said, I know I had like briefly mentioned her, and you're talking about influence, but I mean, she is like my number one everything. Like there's God, there's my relationship with Jesus, and then there's Taryn, you know, and everything else is kind of fallen in order from that. And now I'm just so thankful for her, because we met in high school, and there's a long story behind our high school relationship. We could save that for, you know, maybe another podcast. But so we started dating basically senior year of high school, and we had mutual friends all before that, so we knew of each other, and we did long distance. I went to Boston College for all 4 years, and she went to Presbyterian, which is in South Carolina, a small D1 school. Played basketball.
Okay. Dang, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah,
see,
yeah.
that's cool.
Played basketball.
My wife played basketball too. That's cool.
There we go. See, she hooped, and then did that for 2 years, and you know, things got in the way with basketball, so she transitioned to Florida State, transferred there, and just finished out school there, got her degree, and then obviously I finished up BC. I proposed to her going into our senior year of college, and got that out of the way.
You're like, I gotta have you forever. Forever is a long time, so you know what I'm saying? Once you know you got that right person, it ain't nothing else to do but to.
Man, she stuck with me through some hard times in college, and I was like, you're the one. You know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So we did that, and that was great. We got engaged and we got married right before the draft. Got drafted out here in Denver, and I mean, 3 kids later and 8 years later of marriage, and here we are. But I can't say enough good things about her. I mean, anyone that knows me or has known me, and if there's anything positive to say, it is because of Taryn and just keeping me humble, keeping me grounded, keeping me involved in the things that I've been passionate about since day one. And I'm just so thankful for her because she really is, like I said, the cornerstone of everything that we have going on. And when I'm at my best, it's because of her. And so thankful for her. So,
do you feel, I feel like this sometimes, like say you guys are arguing or having a disagreement and you do something good and then you want to share it with her, but you can't because like, do you like sometimes like I do something and I'm like, I'm so proud of myself. And the only person I want to tell is my wife, but I'm like, man, we arguing right now. And like, that's how you know you like deeply need someone. It's almost like a best friend thing, but it's like, hey babe, I just got this, close this deal, but you know, I'm gonna.
Yeah, all the time. I'm even like, it's as simple as like, I could be scrolling on Instagram on the reels or something and like see a funny tweet and I'll be like, first person I want to share it to is like my wife. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot, man. Let me save that for later. Show her when
That's how you know the love is real.
Spirits.
That's how you know the love is real. All right, so let's go back to, shout out to my man, Joe Jones. Joe told me to put you on the spot. Family man Joe, family man LG, family man Gabe on the behind the scenes. What's up with the family man Justin?
I know, man. He's so persistent. Joe, I gotta give you your flowers, man, for being persistent. The family man, Jay Sims is something that just flowed from the beginning.
It is smooth,
you know,
though.
And then obviously the 11/19 is my birthday, but it just flowed, and it's like I got that from like childhood stuff. So it's gonna take a lot. I'm not saying it's not gonna happen. It's gonna take maybe, you know what? Maybe when I retire,
boom,
I'll just flip it over. You know, like I gotta turn the page. The old name will go, and the new will come in. You know, maybe.
Y'all join the family man movement, man. I mean, like when I was talking to Joe, it's what we're talking about now. The family man Joe, just family man anything, and it don't gotta be. It could be a woman. It's just being there for your family, like being present, like being in your kids' lives. Like we can get into the movement. Speaking of Joe Jones, for me, I shot the NFL for, man, six years. Mm-hmm. And you and Joe truly, like, and you know, I get to be up close on the field, get to see things most people never get to experience. I've never seen anyone openly talk to God how you and Joe did. And, you know, we go back to 2016, 17, where now it's a little bit more like players kind of do that. But with you and Joe, from the moment that, you know, I didn't know you guys, I see you. And even now, every game, you go to the end zone, you talk to God for a little bit, then you play the game. I see you talking to God during the game. And I'm not just, like, I'm watching through the camera because I'm doing my job, but I'm like, Justin's like you'll be you pray anytime someone gets hurt, you're praying. Like you and Joe were the first people that I've seen actively have conversations with God in front of everyone, in front of the world. And you know, I'm not forcing anything on anyone, but talk to me about your relationship with God and like what's that done for you?
Yeah, it's been absolutely huge. It's like I said, you know, it's the number one thing in my life. And I mentioned earlier, you know, talking about my mom and dad. So my mom's white and my dad was black, and you know, both sides of their family, that was still in a time where it wasn't, you know, fully acceptable in some instances. And so really all they had was each other. And we know that sometimes even that might not be stable, and it could be hard when families pushing on one way or the other. And so really their foundation was God, a relationship with Christ, with Jesus. And so I'm the oldest of 2 younger brothers, so there's 3 of us. And so being born into that, it was just like, I wouldn't say I was a pastor's kid because neither of them preached, but it was, you know, church on Sunday, and then I had to go to Bible school, and then there was like Wednesday Bible
Was you
study.
in the choir?
I was for my grandma. My grandma. Come on, man. Listen, for my grandma's church in Tallahassee on the summers, man, I couldn't stand going. And we talking about real Baptist now. Like I was there at 7 a.m. setting up until 6 p.m. and closing. Like Sundays were like, man, there ain't no way. But we were doing that, and it was just like, and it's always been, I'm making it sound like it was always it's always been here. And I think for me, even now in the NFL, like it's been here. A lot of people see this on social media, you know, or even this on social media. I'm only going to post what I want you to see. Right. And that's why, like, you know, when people can see you for who you really are and still love you, like my wife, my closest friends, my brothers, my children, and then especially the ones, and especially God, who can see me behind what I don't want them to see and still love me and still forgive me and show me grace and show me mercy in my lowest of low moments. Like, there's nothing more free, not only in football, but in life, than to have that type of relationship with somebody that you know and you strive to be like. And so by no means am I perfect, I always fall short, but man, what an absolute blessing. And I'm so thankful there's certain individuals that have led me to a true relationship with Christ, and I'm so thankful for them. But that's the number one thing in my life. And no matter what, man, I'm not the type either to beat you over head with a Bible, but you know,
if you want to talk about it, I'm here.
No, but I'm just saying, like, I'm talking about in public. Like,
okay, yeah, I got you.
The reason why I do what I do is because I'm trying to be Christ-like everywhere I go. And like I said, I'm not perfect, right? So we're talking about showing up for the community and doing autographs and signing and taking time and doing this. Like, you know, of course I'm human. There's times I don't want to, and there's times I could be a little bit grumpy, but I always like to think about like how Jesus, you know, was always there for everybody. And it was just like, in a small amount of time that I have like this platform playing on the NFL, like I want to make sure that I'm being consistent in that. And that's why it's so important to me. And I just try to keep pushing that every chance I get. And like I said, I'm not perfect. I fall short actually a lot more than
all of us do, but he loves us, man. Speaking of your platform, let's go right into the Justin Simmons Foundation. I'm about to hit Justin with something. I think I told him this before, but I don't know if you know. When my wife left her job of 5 years and we started our business now, Thomas Visionaries, the first event we ever did as a husband-wife media production team was the Justin Simmons Foundation.
I did know that.
So again, I want to thank you, man. That was, you know, you let us work, me, Gabe, do some stuff with you, but for my wife to be able to come in and that be an event that we got to do. But let's talk about the Justin Simmons Foundation. And it's not just you, it's you and your wife. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about what you all do. And I've seen you, this is real information behind the scenes. I've seen you pull out your phone and give kids your phone number, like with no one else looking. Like I've seen you interacting with the youth at Emmanuel's camps, at you know, at Vaughn's camps. Like I've seen you really just one-on-one interaction with kids, and like at some point you can't fake it. I would never say you are faking it, but like some guys can put on, like with you, like I've seen you do these things. I see you in the youth. I mean, I see you giving back to the youth. Talk to me about the Justin Simmons Foundation and why it's so important to uplift the youth.
Yeah, I think, you know, for my wife and I, we didn't establish the foundation until 4 years in the league. It was during the time of COVID, which wasn't the best timing, but we had already planned everything out. We were ready to go. So we went ahead and launched that. But for us, man, it was just like over the years, we went to our teammates' stuff and we wanted to see like, okay, what are guys doing? Like, are they doing stuff that they know they can raise money for? Are they doing stuff because they're passionate about it? Like what are the pros? What are the cons? Like all these things. And so we're gathering all this information and we realize like, all right, what is it that we want to do? We love this idea. This kind of affects us, but I don't know if I'm super passionate about it. And one of the things that was on both of our hearts was our youth. And we just believed that whatever that looks like, mentorship, education, philanthropic adventures. We're talking about sports and how big sports has been influential both on my life and my wife's life. And so for us, like we told our foundation manager, you know, at the time, we were like, hey, we want to do something with kids and we don't want to limit it to like just sports, just mentorship, just education. Like we want it to be broad enough where it can cover all horizons. And us specifically, like we don't look to uproot or take out or to be in competition with like other nonprofits or other organizations that are already doing great work. Like more so we want to shine the light on maybe some nonprofits or organizations that are doing such amazing work in our respective communities that we may just not know about. Like they're doing but you'll know because, you know, the number 31, Justin Simmons is, you know,
so you're using your platform for good.
So I'm trying to find, you know, so both my wife and I, you know, we're constantly trying to find and work with people that are doing such amazing work in our communities. But our youth is everything, man. Like they're gonna, at some point in time, like our kids are gonna be leading this country, like in full force. And so we got to invest into them, even those that are counted as the least of these. Like, we got to invest into them, and we got to do it properly, and we got to let them know that they're loved, that they're seen, that they have potential, regardless of what the naysayers are saying. And I always have to remind myself, and I'm sure everyone's heard this before, but like, there could be 100 kids in a room, and as long as we reach that one, job completed. Like, that is the whole goal. And so, man, we're just so thankful. Like I said, we just ran into the right people, worked with the right people, and we're just so thankful that we've been, on this journey now for, 3 years, going on 4, and it's just been so amazing.
And that's amazing to do, because I remember I was with Vaughn when he started Vaughn's Vision, and we're talking like, and now I just left Vaughn's Vision, but I remember he was giving a speech saying like, we never set out to give millions of kids glasses or do millions of dollars. And he also told me how, or he said, and people might know how hard it is to have a foundation as an NFL player, not money-wise, but just all the things that you have to do, play, the media, just different things to be able to run a successful foundation. So for you and your wife to do that and to be doing that hard, like, I just want to give you your flowers, because that's an accomplishment, man. It's nothing small. It's not just you throwing money at things and not showing up. Like, it's nothing like that.
And I appreciate that. That's awesome.
Let's roll over into some of the creativity, fashion. This podcast is Let's Talk, More Do, entrepreneurs, athletes, creatives. Talk to me about creativity. You got a fresh fit on right now. Shelby was just giving me, my fashion sense, I'm from Florida. I played football all my life. Yep. And that's not an excuse, but I was in sweatpants, jogging pants. I was always ready for practice. So now, as a 33-year-old man who doesn't play football, you can usually see me editing sweatpants. I just look like I'm ready to play football or go to football practice. Yeah, yeah. And especially when you don't, and I know some of your upbringing, but me and Shelby were talking about the same thing. When you don't have resources, like art, I'm just getting into art because I'm just finding out what art actually is. Fashion, I'm just now starting to wear a cooler name brand. Like, I love Virgil because I love what Virgil stands for. It's not about the off-white on the shirt, it's about what Virgil stands for. Right. Talk to the photographers, videographers, the creatives out there. Like, what's your creative side? Like, what things do you like to dabble in, and how do you feel about that? Creativity and fashion.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's a great point. So I don't know. Creativity is a tough one, right? Because like you said, that falls under a big spectrum, like a big umbrella. I think the number one thing that I thought of when you said creativity was just like gaming, the gaming world, the gaming industry. I think for me, that was something that like anime almost, like it was frowned upon, nerdy, like especially when I was in middle school, like 6th grade. I'll never forget, man. I was on mouse and keyboard playing Call of Duty, like old school Call of Duty, and I remember telling some of my closer friends, and they would be like, well, you don't play like Xbox, you don't play PlayStation? Like, oh man, what do you? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I play sometimes, but like I'm a real gamer. Like, I like to
you
play.
Really on the
I'm on the headset, I'm talking, like I'm a real gamer. And so like I said, now we're seeing it more and more. I mean, you can get full scholarships now to play, to go get. You can go to University of Alabama, not on a football scholarship, on a gaming scholarship.
That's amazing.
Which is really cool, man. And I think that gives like kids that feel like they can never fit in the sports world, you can still be competitive, but on the esports side of it.
And it take a lot, like you said. I think I read an article you were saying that like people don't understand, like even to get that gaming scholarship, it's other people that like you still got to go through the process and climb that mountain no matter what you're trying to do.
You got to. And I think that's so cool, man. And there's so many different things that you can do with the PC, and you're talking about being creative. Like even I'm still learning and I'm dabbling into it. But also from a fashion standpoint, like I appreciate the compliment, but really like a lot of my quote unquote fashion comes like from a suit perspective. And that's really all shout out to my guy, Tom, over at Gentleman's Playbook. He is unbelievable at what he does. And he's a BC alum. That's how we got connected. But a lot of my stuff too, like I'm a big, and you got it on too, I'm a big Fear of God. I'm a big Essentials fan because, man, I just love the work that Jerry Lorenzo does, and I love what he stands for. And I think that's my #1 brand. Also Verge, you know, I've got a bunch of off-white stuff. And for me, it's not necessarily the materialistic things. Like sometimes for me, like if it catches my eye and I love it, I'm getting it. Well, PJ always says, and I love this, he goes, I like what I like. And in today's day and world, like you buy stuff because, you know, it's like a trend or
someone like an influencer, like you like, oh, I think you don't know if you like it.
You see it on TV or whatever the case may be. And so like you just buy it because it's a big name brand and you like it. But like PJ says, I like what I like. And so when I'm, you know, whatever it is, shopping online or, you know, I try to be plain and simple, but there's some things that might be a little bit more downgraded, but I like what I like. So it's that simple, man.
Yeah, your suit game be on point, man. I'm like, listen, we can get into that later. All right, talk to me about this. I would say we haven't talked about too much about football. I got to throw you a loop for one because I just remembered it. Gabe's doing behind the scenes. My buddy Gabe Lerm, he's been with me. Every game that I've ever shot in the NFL for the Denver Broncos, when I was on the sideline, we're going to skip past the fact that you're amazing at getting interceptions. Once you get the ball, every time you get the ball, in my mind, I already know what you're trying to do. Talk to me about your mindset to not only get the interception, but every time you get the ball, you're trying to score. I've seen you score a lot of touchdowns off interceptions. I seen you. My favorite one was the Jets, where you almost hit that boy with one and they got you from behind. Oh, yeah. Your mindset, and again, I'm talking to, you know, your safety. When you get an interception, like, there's nothing, like, it's always so clear that, like, Justin's trying to score. It's like you're trying to take the ball and you turn into a receiver. Like, what's your mindset around, like, once you get an interception? Because, I mean, we don't know if you don't play in the NFL how hard it is to get an interception. But once you got it, like, I always see you, like, as soon as the ball's in your hand, it's like you don't even, it's like,
yeah,
it's like you're a receiver.
Yeah, nah, it's crazy. Like, I bet if you ask, like, you know, most guys, like, even like a receiver catching a pass and then having to make moves, and it's just like reactionary. Like, it's like when you're playing, and everyone can relate to this for the most part that played, like when you're playing pickup ball in the park, or you're playing, I don't know what I call it killer man. I don't know, you know what I'm talking about? I don't know what everybody else calls it, but that's when you're playing like it's 1 versus 11. Like, if I got the ball, it's
pick
all
them up,
y'all
bust
versus
them,
me.
boy,
Pick 'em up, bust, whatever it is, whatever y'all call it. I call it killer man back where I'm from. And so, like, when you're doing that, you're not really thinking like, okay, I'm gonna do this, set up this, and like, you just are reacting. And I appreciate the compliment. You know, I know one thing, when I catch the ball, it's like God put an asterisk next to me getting an interception, and the asterisk is you're gonna be 20, 30, 40% slower. Every time I get the ball, I feel like I got the heaviest legs in the world, and I just get caught. I know there's a few times I've broken free, but like most of the times I feel like I'm just like, so, you know, I'm just tired. But you know, like, yeah, when I catch it, like, I'm not even thinking about, sometimes the ball's out, sometimes, like, you know, I have poor you know, ball security and things like that, but it's like I'm a kid again. Like, you catch an interception for me, and it's like, you know, I black out, and then the next thing I know, I'm on the sideline, I'm dancing with my teammates or whatever the case may be. But yeah, it's literally like that. So I think that can relate to most of the people watching. Like, you know, you just go back to your childhood when you were playing as a kid.
I love that, man. And one time you got to pick, and me and Gabe have a rule: we never stop filming, because you don't never know when guys going to celebrate. Like, Emmanuel would get a first down and then, like, walk 2-3 steps and then celebrate. So we never stop. Every time you get a pick, I get it to the end of the play, then I just run to the end zone so we can turn up, party in the end zone, man.
You know it. I think the Bears started that trend, like, really, like, I think that was the year Eddie Jackson was going off, and they just had, like, routines set, and they, like, had things they already planned, like, hey, when we get this pick, we're going to go to the end zone, we're going to celebrate. And so I think, you know, they kind of started that trend. I could be mistaken, but I think they started that trend, and then the rest of the league kind of took notice and started doing it. So that's like, you know, like, man, we celebrating you. You know what I'm saying? You made a great play, and it may have took the other 10 guys to help you, but way to cash in. We're all one team. Like, we're all going to go celebrate together.
Yes, sir. Okay, I got a few more for you. Yeah. Let's talk about mental health, man, because you play a game, a sport, you're in a profession, and people sometimes forget, and again, this isn't me coming at anyone, but, like, it's what you do for a living. Like, that's your, like, say if you're a photographer, I take pictures for a living. Yeah. You're a football player, you do that for a living. But no one's at my job booing me when we don't win. No one's death threats. I mean, I can't, you know, imagine some of the extremes you have. How do you find, you know the brand Loci, the highs and lows of life? How do you balance that mental health wise, and, like, where you at mentally right now? You know, getting ready to start a season where last year, I know things didn't go as expected, but we all know what you can do. I mean, I know what y'all can do. So, like, how does that play effect in your mental?
Yeah, I think my first like advice, I would say, for, you know, the younger generation that is in playing sports and is, you know, can get caught up in the hype or the lack thereof or whatever the case may be. I think number one is, like, that I found successful. Different people work under different types of pressure, right? There's guys that I know that will like play a bad game and go look at Twitter or Instagram, and they want to see all the negative comments because they want to see like adds fuel to the fire, right? And then I think for me personally, you know, like I don't want to see that. One, I'm gonna just get mad. I'm gonna want to say something. I want to say something disrespectful. Like so for me, like I just completely block. Like you can't talk to me. Like just like it was in real life. Like if you were gonna say that to me in real life, that's one thing.
But we know what Mike Tyson say. It's a lot of keyboard warriors out here that just need to get hit in the mouth. I'm not advocating for people getting hit in the mouth, but like imagine the dudes talking trash to you or the people or the kids. Like if they were standing in front of you man to man, they wouldn't say that.
And there's been a few times where, you know, fans can get out of hand, and you gotta check them in a respectful way. I don't mean that disrespectfully, in a respectful way, but you know, for me, like, you can't access that. Like, even on my comments on Instagram, you can only comment if I follow you. You can only DM me if I follow you. You know what I'm saying? On I don't even really tweet that much, but on Twitter, only the people that I allow to comment can comment. Things like that. Like, I think that has helped me a lot because it's taken out the aspect of, one, hearing having negative energy and having negative thoughts enter my mind. And it's just helped me be able to focus on, like, you know, my portfolio, my platform, the things that are more important. I don't have to put in time and energy on the naysayers, and I'm arguing with people that aren't even doing what I'm doing. So I think that's number one for like my younger generation. You just got to find like what works for you. And I think second, mental health in general, right? Like you have a lot of us do, and we're not going to sit here and act like we don't. Obviously, everyone knows, you know, a small amount, but a small amount of people in the NFL make money. And I mean like money, you know what I mean? And I think the majority of the guys in the NFL, just because you hear they're an NFL player, you think of nice cars, jewelry, big house, you know what I mean? And that's not always the case. And so what I'm saying is like there's a big stress that comes year in and year out with like performing, and you can always be cut, you can be traded at any point in time. You got to uplift your family and move. Like there's a lot of stress that comes with the job, as do a lot of other jobs. And so for me, I've had to find healthy outlets that help kind of take the mental load off my plate and to play free. And I think number one for me is a relationship with Jesus. That's what I said. Like I know whether I perform well, whether I perform poorly, whether I'm the best, whether I'm the worst, X, Y, and Z, whether I'm an NFL player or I'm not. I'm created in the image of God, and I'm loved by him. And like I said, that's me. I will never push on anybody watching. But to have that in the back of my head while I'm playing is so freeing to me. Second is my wife. And I'm still working on that one because as a man, you know, like I want to be able to be the one that provides comfort to my family, let them know that, you know, I may struggle here and there, but I'm the one that's going to, you know, hold the fort down, and I'm going to lead us and things like that. But I think when we're talking about being a man and leading, it's also being vulnerable and letting your wife into those moments so that she can help you, as you said earlier, build you up and actually bring you from good to great. And the last thing I'll mention, and there's a bunch of others, but the last thing I'll mention, or last two things that kind of coincide is, one, counseling has been huge for me in my life, and finding someone that I can talk to and be 100 about. And I know like what I say won't leave us unless, you know, I want it to. And to coincide with that is I partnered with this company called White Flag. And you can find them on your phones, on an app, whether, you know, whatever it is. And you just type in White Flag, exactly how it sounds. And it's the thing I love the most about this app, I wouldn't be saying if I didn't, is it's an anonymous like help cry, or just like an anonymous check-in, an anonymous venting system. So what you do is you create your profile, you can, you know, put in your name, put in your email, then you make up a username, whatever it is you wanted to be. Like I could be Bronco fan, you know, 977, whatever it is. I can go on and I can highlight like what I'm struggling with on the app. Like I could say depression, alcoholism, drugs. I could like most recently like death in the family. And I could just go on there and I can literally type exactly how I'm feeling in the app. And as soon as I click send, the app will send it's almost like a post on those topics, and it's like a leaderboard post. And so like anyone that's on their phone on white flag, they'll be flagged, and they'll show like on their screen, it'll show like Broncos fan 977 is, you know, just made a post about and dealing with something in your topic. And so what you can get is you can get people that are dealing with that with you at the same time. You guys can like talk it out. You can get people that have dealt with it and are still like trying to figure out how to deal with it. Or you could get people that like have dealt with it and have seen the light at the end of the tunnel and kind of offer some sort of advice or some clarity, and like, I want you to know you're not alone. I also lost, you know, my parent just recently, and these are the steps. Like, so for me, like having an outlet where I know I can go on anonymously and like kind of take the football out of it, take the whatever else out of it, you know, take the whatever. I could be what I want with the anonymous app, and just like cry out for help, or just vent. I don't even need help maybe, but I just wanted to vent to somebody that I know might be dealing with the same thing, and you guys are listening. So that's like a big thing for me too.
But no, I see that makes me think. I mean, I think I've been, and again, now that we're having these conversations, and it's just, you know, back in the day, it wasn't okay for two dudes, you know, I'm a college football player, NFL football player. Long time ago, I played college in the back in the day, 4.36, you know what I'm saying? Florida speed. I was moving, man. But now it's like, I think I have anxiety when I'm about to fly, from what we were talking about earlier. And I don't know if it's right or not, but every time I get to go on a plane, my wife reassures me I'm going to, you know, do work. I'm shooting for the Big Three right now, Jordan Norwood's team.
Yep.
So like when I go to fly, you know, Jordan knows, it's like, I never want to be gone for a long time. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't like staying in hotels, and I'm like, I don't know if that, like, I just start, like, even talking about it now, it's just like, I miss my family when I'm going, and I'm like, it shouldn't be that way. I'm only going for a day, 2 days, but I don't know if that's anxiety. I don't know if that's something I need to talk to someone about, but this app, I could just hop on there and it's like, hey, I'm feeling this way when I'm on the plane, and I know I'm working, but it's like, shit, like, is there anything I can do? And it's just like, it's just a vulnerable space that I would never say something like this on a podcast, but it's like, we're talking about mental health and anxiety and things that just usually don't talk about.
Yeah, and it's the same thing growing up. Like, mental health for me, and especially as a young boy and you know, wanting to become a man at some point in my life, like, you just never talked about your problems. It was always, and I think that's another thing that a lot of people struggle with, is like, you never really talked about your problems. It was like, get it done. Even as an athlete, right? Like,
always as an athlete, just tape it up, keep going.
Hey, no excuses. Like, whatever it is, I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear complaints. Like, you either get your job done or you don't. And so a lot of the times for us, it's like,
just keep it all in.
Man, you just keep it in. You just keep it in. You take it, and you know, you're just so focused on accomplishing whatever said goal is in your life, and your feelings are neglected. Like, you're not even thinking about like what it's doing to you, how it's making you feel, or X, Y, and Z. And so I just think that's important.
I'm gonna talk about a couple of your teammates, a couple. Well, let's just start with the easy one. I'm from Lakeland, Florida, and I feel like, again, God doesn't make mistakes. What's the chance that Mari, a guy that went to Lakeland, I went to Jenkins, he's from Lakeland, Florida, I'm from Lakeland, Florida, I got to do some video stuff for the Broncos. He now plays for the Broncos, your teammate. Like, what's the chances? I'm like, sometimes God just does stuff that I laugh about, like
so cool.
The Mari Mathis, and I'm just so proud of him, man. What do you think about the kid, man, as your teammate? He from the city, so I had to ask you, man.
Man, what? Of course, man. Mari, hey, I love Mari, bro. I think Mari is, I'll say Mari is one of like my favorite rookies of all time. Like, he came in here, and you know Florida boys, like, they always got a chip. I mean, like most people, like,
but does the Florida guy just feel,
But he had the true Florida feel, right? Yeah. Came in, slides, polo socks, like sweats, like, I mean, you just
big 8'6" vibes.
You don't even have to ask. You're like, oh, I know he's from Florida. You know what part we'll figure out, but I know he's from Florida. But Mari's a great dude, man. And I appreciate him because he's unapologetically him in a good way, right? And then I tell you what, really, like, from a football standpoint, like, he listens, he's coachable, he's competitive, and he keeps pushing himself. Like, he'll lose a rep in practice and he'll be pissed the rest of practice. Like, it don't matter how great he does in the rest of practice. Like, you know, he wants the challenge, he wants the big stage, like a lot of guys. And then I think for me, man, like, when I watched last year, like, we played the Chargers on Monday night, close game. and they ended up winning in overtime. And he got, you know, they were throwing at him a good bit, and he got some questionable PI calls, and there were a few of them. And then I remember him just on the sideline, like, and you got to do this as a DB because it's the NFL. You know what I mean? Any given Sunday, you can get caught. Yeah. And you can get got, and you will. Yeah. It's going to happen at some point. It's going to happen. I remember him sitting on the sideline, and he was just like, you know, he wasn't wide-eyed. He wasn't pouting. He was just almost like still like locked in and was like, I'm going to be better. I promise. I'm going to be better for us. Like after the loss and the rest of the year, each game, you just saw his game kind of elevate and elevate and elevate. And I really think, like someone asked me earlier, who I think is going to have like jump off the tape type of performance that's underrated. And I said it's going to be Mari. Mari just has that Lakeland in him.
Listen, man, shout out to Lakeland for shout out to Mari, man. All right, next I'm going to go to PS2, man. I mean, I don't know. I think today, at the time of us recording this podcast, something just said he's #1. I know he doesn't care about the numbers. I know internally you guys work, but you know, he's special, man. What has it been like playing with him? Especially, I know when he came in, learning from you. You know, he got his pops. Like, what has it been playing with? Like, what has it been like playing with PS2?
Man, Pat is and obviously this is only going into year 3 for him. Pat is the best corner that I've had the opportunity to play with, and I think like for him to come in as polished as he has. It was like when he came in as a rookie, it was like he was a 5-year vet. Like he just knew how to watch film. He knew how to break down the route tree in terms of how it's being presented to him. He knew how offenses were going to attack him, and you know, in man or in zone or whatever those look like. Like he was just so mature. You don't see that a lot of times with rookies coming in, especially first-round guys. He wasn't entitled. He came in and, you know, he was doing his job and he was doing his duties as a rookie, and was just really respectful about it. And you know, still even now, like he'll come to Jack and he'll come to, you know, me sometimes if we're talking about how we need to work coincide, and it's just so easy to work with him. Not to mention, you know, he's already an All-Pro, Pro Bowl corner, and he's playing at the highest level right now, and it just makes my job so much easier. And I mean this, and we've seen it. Like I legit almost 10 out of 10 times watch him line up against whatever receiver he's on, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna help that other side of the field because we want you to throw to him. You know what I mean? Like
that's amazing.
He's that type of guy, and he's gonna be around for a long time. He'll play as long as he wants, and he'll continue to succeed at the highest level in the league because, you know, he's really that guy. So I appreciate too, man. He's a great dude.
That's cool. And last but not least, KJack, man. And you know, you going on almost 10. KJack's run in the NFL is, I mean, I want to think about other defensive guys, but it's just been amazing what he's been able to do. Longevity, the way he's playing, the level he's playing at. Shout out KJack. What's it been? I mean, you guys, I mean, everyone in Denver, all the Broncos fans watching this, they were so happy when Jack came back. I was happy personally from knowing him. What's it been like playing with him? What have you learned from him? What, like, you got iron sharpens iron, man. Like, what has it been like playing with Jack?
Man, Jackson, man. I said he's probably the most influential person in my career. I've had the opportunity to play with him probably the longest at anybody, but he's been the most influential person in my career, man. And obviously football-wise, this year, I think he's going into year 14. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the longest, like he's the last one from his draft class, if I'm not mistaken. First-round pick.
They don't make him like Jack no more.
Nah, they don't. They really don't. And, man, he was great. Even when he got here, man, like, he was just, like, ready to embrace everybody. Like, it wasn't about him signing a new big contract. It wasn't about, you know, whatever. Like, he came in and he, you know, he was like, this is our show. You know, we do this, we do that. And he established our culture, like, you know, mandatory. Like, when we go out to eat on Friday nights as a DB group, like, DB's got to go, mandatory. You got to show up. And that camaraderie right there, like, shows that, like, hey, man, we're out here in dinner, like, on the field, I got your back. Like, when we make this call, I'm going to be there for you. And if I'm not, I'm going to be the first one to come tell you, like, that was on me. When we're in film, I'm going to be the first one to tell you that was on me. Not point the finger, not complain. You know, that's the type of environment Jack brought. But even outside of football, man, it's like it's bigger than that because he helped me so much with life. And he already had, obviously he has 2 daughters as well. And you know, there's so much wisdom that he has from a football perspective, but just from a life perspective. He's gone through a lot, and he's helped me so much with just navigating, like, what it's like to be a brother, what it's like to be a son, what it's like to be a husband, like how I got to show up. And even like I said, even a brother too, like he's just telling me, like, and I'm talking life with this dude, like in and out of, on bus rides back from games, on plane rides to games.
Knowledge, man, you learning.
He's been there. I would do anything for him, man. He's been there for me through the ups and the downs of life and in football. And like I said again, man, I couldn't say enough good things about him. Jack is the epitome of who we are as a position group and why we've been so strong the last few years. It's, you know, he's like the cornerstone of that. So I'm thankful for him, man.
I like that. All right, I done taken too much of your time. I promise, wifey, we're gonna get you back. You taking, I mean, with NFL players, that is something with your job where, like, the schedule is, there's so many things, there's so many people that are, you know, vying for your attention. I'm gonna let you get out of here. For people on the podcast, entrepreneurs, creatives, athletes, give them one piece of advice. Like if this podcast is called Let's Talk More Do. Someone like you, like, don't talk about doing it, go do it. But that's not always easy for everywhere. You know, some people need to warm up to that. Like, what would you say for someone that's like right on the fence of being able to jump over and like accomplish the dreams, their wildest dreams? Like, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, and it's nothing I don't think anyone hasn't heard, you know, at home. But I think the number one thing that has helped me is take the risk. You know, like we've heard all the cool quotes, like whatever you do now, you know, that future you is going to be thankful because you've sacrificed, you put in the work, you've done X, Y, and Z. And so, you know, so take the risk, man. Like whatever it is, like especially if you're on you could do it in general, but especially if you're on the younger side of life, like, man, if you're in a corporate, you know, world job but you really want to be a photographer, but you don't want to take that risk because it's comfortable. You know, you're making decent money and you're doing things, man, like, take the risk, man, because your passion will always outgrow the money. And if you're doing it for the money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And so find what you're passionate about, invest in that, invest in you deserve it, and take the risk, because I promise you will always be rewarded if you take the risk and you're pursuing something you're passionate about. And that's what I've done, and I'm so thankful for that. And I mean, there's still plenty more of life to go, but as of right now, man, just take the risk and jump all in on it.
I love it. Justin Simmons, man, appreciate you. Give the love to your family. Hopefully I get to keep, hopefully me and my wife's company, Thomas Vision, we keep doing work with you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for your time. Let the people know where they can connect with you if they want to, and about the Justin Simmons Foundation if they want to, you know, check it out.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. First of all, man, thank you so much for having me. I know this is a long time coming. This won't be the last time, I promise. But for anyone that wants to keep in touch with me or in contact, obviously you can find my socials as of now, Joe. I'll change it later. But as of now, you can find me at jsims1119 on Twitter, Instagram. If you want to find out more about the Justin Simmons Foundation, it's just justinsimmonsfoundation.org, and you'll find all the information on there. Or you can go on my socials. I have a link on all my socials. JS31 Foundation on Twitter. You can find all that stuff. But thank you guys for tuning in. Lamar's like family, and so until next podcast.
Peace.